How's it going, everybody? Today I'm going to do a quick tutorial for Sony Vegas Pro. I have Sony Vegas Pro 18, but this will work on pretty much all of the ones roughly within the vicinity. Pretty much any Sony Vegas. These are going to be mostly just the basics for anyone who's getting started with Sony Vegas Pro. So without further ado, here is your layout. The very first thing you'll notice is if you go in between two windows, you can make it as small or as big as you want. For example, like that. You bring it back. This is pretty much the default setting right here. This is your master volume on the right. You usually want to keep that pretty much the same and do your volumes on the left here, which we could do when we get a volume track, which you can do by doing Control Q. Control Q gives you a volume track. Control Shift Q gives you a video track. And then you could also right click that and name it if you want. Say video track 1. Or you could right click and delete the track. Now, these are some of the very basics getting ready to go. Now, the very first thing I would do is Control S. Then you could save it. Demo Sony Vegas Pro tutorial. Now you have named your project. You're ready to go. Now, first things first is this little wheel right here. You're going to want to put your settings. See, I already have these custom settings. To be honest, I forget where they came from. But if you just follow these, you should be good. Width, 1920. Height, 1080. Pixel aspect ratio, 1. Frame rate, I like going to 60. I also have another one at 30 and another one at 25, but I pretty much do most of my regular ones in 60 frames. Output rotation 0, field order none, progressive scan, stereoscopic 3D off. And you could go down and you could take a second and copy all of these specifications. That's for a video. You can go through those. You could go for the audio. Again, you could copy all of these. And then you can name this whatever you want. I just let it be named custom 1920 by 1080, 60 frames per second. Okay. Then when you're done, you're going to hit the save template and save it. You hit apply. Okay. Now, also, you'd want to probably check start all new projects with these settings. Apply. Okay. So now you have your settings ready. You're ready to go. Here is where you can find everything. Your project media is where you'll find everything that you pull into this project. So if I pull in this picture of a flag, it's going to go into here. If I pull in this old intro, again, everything you pull into this is going to go into here. So now you can click pretty much anywhere, and the click will go there. And you click on the bottom when it's playing, you hit enter to play, and enter will stop it right where it is. Or you can hit spacebar to play, and then when you hit spacebar to stop, it'll go back to wherever you started. So typically I use enter while I'm editing. It's a lot easier. Now, if you want to, you can zoom in with the ball on the mouse. Makes it bigger or smaller. So when I'm going to go to a thing here, I zoom in really close. And then for a transition, you literally just pull them over. Now see, it says 6 frames. We're at 60 frames per second. So 60 is going to equal 1. Okay, so that is 1 second right now. Usually a good, for artistic reasons, I found basically 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds are your best transitions. Or sometimes you want a fast transition, or sometimes you want an even slower one. But your most typical transition is probably going to be about 1.5 seconds. Click enter to play, and it's going to look exactly like that. A nice smooth transition. That is the very first thing. Bring in your projects. Now, if you want to make a special transition, you could come down here again, just project media, all your different things. Transitions. Now you can go through all your options. Page roll. You want something like that, and it'll show you. And then you just basically take that and you drop it right over Now you could change them, you can make them, all these things are pretty self-explanatory. You could just play around with them. Or you can leave the default. I'm going to leave the default right now. If you click here, hit enter. There's your page roll. And again, you make that as fast or as slow as you want. That'll work with your transition. And at this number here in the middle, it's going to show you how far. Okay, now hit Control S, saves it. Control S saves everything. As a force of habit, I just like to hit Control S pretty much after everything I do. It's a good habit to get into. You definitely will not be sorry. So Control S to save. Okay, so next you can do your video effects. That's also down here. This bottom tray is going to open up these windows to whatever you want. So these BCC, these are an add-ons I have. But these are, if I go to the regular ones, you have here. Well, you can also star and go to your favorites. These are my favorites that I have starred. I'm going to go back to all plugins. And for instance, you can do like this. Say if you want to do the chroma key here. And I'll take it on the flag here. Right? It goes to the default blue. If you see, it took away the blue. You can click that on or off on the top here. So click that off. That's what it originally looks like. Click it on, and it's gone. So a lot of times I'll click it off. Then I'll click the color. Go to the eyedropper right here. And say I want to take the red away. Now click it on. And that red is gone. So now, if you pull a picture in underneath that, but to do that, you have to find a place in the video track that's gone, and right-click, insert video track, and you can pull it underneath. Or, like I said before, Control-Shift-Q will also bring you a video track, one or the other. So now, if I bring a picture in underneath that, you will see that this took it took the red away. So I can go to this. This is your effects right here, the F at the right corner, the top right corner of your track is where you locate that. So now if I click it off, it goes back to normal. Click it on, it's this. But see, a lot of it is transparent. So a lot of times that's in your low threshold and your high threshold. I'll take the low threshold up a bit. Take the high threshold up. And there we go. Until only the red is gone. So basically, it affects everything. You have to just mess with these a little bit. Typically, you want to bring the low threshold up, the high threshold down. Not always this extreme. And it'll go good. And only the things you want to take away will be taken away. And that'll be that. So you could click that off, or you could leave that on. I'm going to click it off for now. Now, here is where things start to get fun. So to clip something, so say I want this shorter, you have to hit, all you have to do is click on where you want it and hit the S button. S will split it. Okay? So then I could click this, delete, and now it'll go like that to that. And then the back and right keys on your keyboard will move this frame by frame. So now, say I want to move these two together. I want them. So right now, if you see this and this, they are separate. So I move this, it has nothing to do with the flag, right? But say I want them to move together. I'll click this. I will also highlight this by holding Control and clicking it. So now I have both of them selected. I will hit G for group, G. Now I've just made a group. So now, even if I unclick them, they will all move together. And that works for as many as you click. Click this, click this, click this, this, G. Now I have one big group. Now if you want to remove something from the group, say I want to remove the flag, I click that and I hit U. U. So now this group still moves all together except the flag has been taken away from it. I'll hit U on that. And now you just have this. So now where this will work, say if, see, this isn't someone talking, but say the lips are off or the vocals are off, or you simply just want to change the voice from the clip, you'd hit U here and now, or on either one, and now you have taken them away. And you notice it goes pink when it's not fully lined up. It'll tell you when it's lined up and go to normal. And now you can mess with this and line it up however you want. And then when you get it good, say that's exactly where you want it lined up. Now you can hold Control, click this one, so these two are both highlighted. Remember, G is going to work for everything that's highlighted. So if you accidentally have something else highlighted, it's going to work for that too. But you can hit U there. But say, then you want to hit G and group this together. So now these are grouped together. Hit U to take it apart again. Line it back up. Control click. G. Now it's clicked back together. And we are good to go. This will stay. This transition will also stay unless you physically remove it. Now the next thing is for the motion tracks. Now to do this, your video track, see, it only has mute or solo. Okay, mute and solo are self-explanatory. But usually you want to click this up here and go to Edit Visible Button Set on the bottom. This is very important. When you do this, if you want to say track motion. You want to click that so you could see the track motion. This is your most important thing. I don't know why it's not automatically on there. It should be. And you could do track effects too, and that's if you want to put effects on the whole track. But typically you're putting effects on your each individual clip, so it doesn't really matter. I usually leave that one off. And making composite parent, composite child, that's something for another day. But that's pretty cool too. But for the most part, you want to do track motion. You say, okay, track motion. And this box right here, your track motion box, is going to be your best friend. And you can do everything with that. For example, say you want to bring in a beat setting. And then you want to put a PNG on top of it for this Rubik's Cube, and you want to have this moving, okay? So basically, you're going to do two things first. We're going to use the motion track in 1 second, but first, I want to make this fill out the whole picture, right? So what I'm going to do is this right here. This is the crop. Right next to the effects, you have the crop, event pan, and crop. So on this, when this opens up, you're going to right click it and go to match output aspect. That will make it the same size as the project. And then you can go up, you can go down. Right now it has on the left here, this locks your aspect ratio. So once that's locked, it's going to stay the full size. This is how much you can move. Usually you keep it right here. X and Y, you can move this wherever you want. But say you're just like this, right? And you don't want to, you want to move it up, but you don't want a mistake coming off the sides. Then you would do it to move only in Y. And then you can move it up or down. You don't have to worry. You could also do the same there. This won't let you go up or down. So sometimes it's good if you're trying to keep things straight. I typically like to keep it in move freely. I like to lock my aspect ratio unless you want to unlock it and do something weird. In which case, right now, I'd say Control Z to go back. Control Z is your undo. Control Y is your redo. Control Z goes back. Control Y goes back in case you didn't mean to undo it. So I'm going to Control Z, keep it where it is, relock the aspect ratio, and this, the size about the center, will just mean that it'll hold the center. That can be useful. A lot of times I keep it off unless I absolutely want it. But for the most part, That's 50-50. That's going to be up to you. It's going to be different for each different thing. This is also the place where you can mask something. If you click on mask, you can start masking something. We'll come back to that in a minute. But for right now, we have the background. Now the background's full. Now you have your Rubik's Cube. I want to make the Rubik's Cube move. So this is where I'm going to go to the video track. Before doing that, I'm going to go to the end of this clip and lock it in. Okay? So I'm going to click the video track. I'm going to come down here. These are my options down here. I'm going to add a track. Right like that. Just right where it is. Even though see it says blank, it looks blank because the last frame is always blank. I'm going to lock it in right there. So now that is going to stay. No matter what I do here, won't affect that. Okay? And now I'm going to come here, and now I can do whatever I want, and it won't affect my last thing. I locked it in. So, first things first, I want to make it smaller. So you can do that. And these controls are up here. This thing right here and down here. It's up top and down below. First things, sync cursor. You're going to want to click sync cursor. See, right now it's off, and I can click here, and it's not moving my spot. You want it to be able to move from the project. So I'm going to sync cursor, and now wherever I go, it goes the same. That's the best way. So now, that's my first thing there. It'll automatically make new ones. You don't always have to hit the create a keyframe here. It's good, like I'm saying, create a keyframe is good if you want to lock something in or just make a keyframe that you're not touching, just to solidify something so it doesn't move. But for the most part, say if I click here, it's going to automatically create one. So now I move this here. So from here to here, it's going to continually move to get to that spot. And you see they're on the bottom here too. And you could also move them underneath. So now if I hit enter to play, there you go. It moves. You can also see if I have it here, come up to this in the top left. And again, first, before I say that, actually, you can lock it. You can lock the top, which will only move left. Or you could lock the left, where it'll only move up and down. So this is kind of like the reverse of what is on the crop features. So you could do that, but I keep it the same. I have my aspect ratio locked. So no matter what I move it, it keeps it the same. And you can come up here, it says source alpha. You can click that and go to 3D source alpha. Now you can move it wherever you want. So you can move it normal, like you just did. You could have it move up here, but you could also go to the Y. If you notice the little Y, sometimes it'll light up the other ones. But the left is typically the Y. Now moves it left, like that. Right. The middle one's usually the X, which is forward or back. And then this is typically the Z, or the Z is a lot of times down here. But again, you have to make sure, once you mess with it, they don't always light up exactly how you want. There we go. There's the Z. And then Z is your typical regular tilt. So there's nothing 3D about that. And this is probably, since I have a 3D picture here, it's not given the best representation. But you kind of get what I mean. So now this will move to that. And like that. And then also, if you come here and have it move here, you can have it change. If I go to the Y and change to a backwards, and it'll flip around like that. So that is your motion tracking. Again, you could you scroll everything in and out with the ball and your mouse. And then these are all your different motion tracks. You can go to each one. And you can basically make it do whatever you want it to do. That's exactly, if you want to lock someone or anything like that, that's what you'll do for that. So that is your motion tracking. Now, again, if I want to get rid of this right here, I'll hit S for split. I could click on it and just click delete, and it is gone. Now I want to bring in a picture of a pug. So look, now I don't want it to be diagonal like this. So I'm going to click here at the end of the Rubik's Cube, go over here to my motion track, and then create a keyframe. Okay, so now that's locked in. No matter what I do here, it's not going to affect that. So now that I want to start this from scratch, I'm going to right click and restore box. Okay, that's right click and restore box. And now everything is back to normal, starting from square one. And again, the Rubik's Cube is where it is because I locked that in. I locked that in with this last keyframe on the end here. And that stayed, that was not affected by this. But now we have this guy. Now this is what we call rotoscoping or masking. So that again, masking, like I said, that comes to the event crop. And again, these are your most important. Your motion track is over here on the left on the actual track. And then this is your event crop or mask option. And that is on the track itself. Those are your two most important objects. Now I'm going to click that. Again, it looks similar. Open it up. And now I'm going to come down here to the bottom left and I'm going to click mask. So the mask option is now on. That is this bottom track over here. And you're going to come up here and these are your mask options. So the anchor creation tool is your friend. I'm going to click that. And now you're going to zoom in and then you just click around him. Now you can zoom in really close. Now hold control. You see the hand appear and you can move it. But when you do that, if you notice, these are gone now. You have to hit Control Z. See, once didn't even work. Control Z again for them to come back, or else you have broken the chain and it won't work. These have to be here. Okay? So now I'll continue with it zoomed in. And then you're going to go all the way around it. I'm doing this a little sloppier. You'll usually take a little more time, get a little more accurate if you wanted. All right, Control, pulling it with the mouse, and Control Z to make sure my last point reappears. Come here. I'm going to click around this guy. Control mouse to pull it. Control Z to bring it back. See, now I'm going to do Control Z again because I overlapped that one. But just always make sure these come back. Okay, come there. Control mouse to pull it. Control Z to bring the things back. Come around here. I'm going to zoom it out. Now, when I finally get to the end and I'm about to connect the entire thing, you'll see this little key that appears just to the right of the cursor. That means all's good. You click that, and voila. You have a mask. You have just masked out little buddy here. So now, your mask, this is a solid object, so you really don't need to change it. If it's a motion, you can click here, and then go to the cursor, and now you can select the whole thing. See, it's like that. And usually you can do that with a motion track, with something that's moving. So then you can move it to get it close to where it is there, then click off to the side, and then start pulling these points down to get it really close. Slightly adjust them accordingly. You know, this is if something was moving. But I'm going to hit Control Z, Control Z, Control Y. Okay, Control Y because I went one too far until it goes back. So now you have that. So now this guy, he is cropped out. That, again, is from the crop mask. This is your mask feature. He is masked out. So now I can go to motion track. You bring him here. Then I could go to motion track again and move him across the screen. Now, a neat trick here is if you right-click, insert video, right-click, insert video, someone will Control-C to copy, Control V to paste. Now you'll have another one here. So you can also do the motion track again. Control C to copy that motion track. Then you open up the new track's motion track. Control V to paste it. So now I have two that are right over each other. Now a lot of times what we'll do is, in the original one, say I want to make his ears flap. When I was making the original mask, I would have went around the ear instead of including it. So I would have done one without his ears, and you could erase them too. See right under this selector tool here, anchor creation tool, you also have the anchor deletion tool. So I'll delete all these. Okay, so now I have the entire dog mask except his left ear. So I'll click that off and then go to the top one. If I come here, which has still got the original mask, I will simply delete this mask. Delete all selected. And I will make a new mask just around his ear. I'll overlap it a little bit. And I'll make this one go fast motion by dragging the clip while holding the control button, which will either speed it up or make it slow motion. So now it looks like you just have one picture here, but technically I have two things. So while this moves, I'm going to delete that motion track just so it all stays in the same spot at the moment. So for here, since I have one full thing, on the top one, I'm going to motion track that, go to my source alpha, 3D, and I'm going to have the ear look like it turns a little. Let's see, let's go Z touch here. So that should look like it's turning. Let's see if it looked a little awkward here. I could go into the middle. The more you zoom in, the slower it moves. I could bring that in. So that's crude, of course, but you can see it moving. And that's how you can make different moving things on one picture. So that is a bit of a masking tutorial. Next, we're going to go over how to add text. You can do that by going on a blank video file, right-clicking, and insert text media. This will give you an empty box. Again, this box right here is how you go to all the... You can get this up right here. If you click it off, you can get that back by clicking this box. And that is for most things that you put on here. Like, for example, if you go to media generator, this gives you all blank templates, noise textures, whatever you want. And if you want to put in something like this, and you close this out, to get it back, you go to this box. So that box is going to give you all your options for anything you did. If you go here, you can mess with it. Layers, so that's a pretty cool one. You can change the color here. And also, these are time things. So you can also, like the motion tracks, see the number of layers? You can time track it. Add a keyframe, like we learned with the other motion tracks. It works exactly the same. Let's see where I'm here. I could click it there and make it go crazy. Okay, and then now that has one there. I'm going to pull this back a touch just to give it a little bit of space. Now it's back to here. So now if I click this off and hit enter to play, it will move. It'll change. And that's for pretty much anything. Even your text. They all have time. So you can make anything do anything. But for the text, for the text now, it comes up sample text. You're going to open it up. And with this, you want to typically do an outline color. These are a little confusing. Usually I click HSV. That'll typically give me something like this. I'll make the outline color black. And this is how thick you want it. I typically do it to about 7-ish. And that'll give you that. You can do a shadow if you like. Shadow offset. It's typically pretty close. A lot of times I like to bring it a little closer to 1. Give it a little less. You can change the color, or you can make it just look like it's glowing or something, whatever you want. And then here, you can highlight it. And basically what I like to do is I click one, and then with the up key, you can just go through them all. And it'll show you the difference on the screen. You can do it like this. And then you can also highlight it and change the size here. This is my Sony Vegas Pro demo tutorial. Now, see, this has the left side. This is all pretty standard stuff. I'll just go like this. I'd move it up here. And there we go. Now, if you want to fade it in or fade it out, that is this little arrow up here. And that works for any kind of track. That is your fade in. Again, I always like doing the 130. And that goes for anything. You want to take this out, fade this out. You have that fade out. And of course, okay, remember, you can overlap things. That blends them. But then see, like this has to line up because I was moving the ear. Oh. See, that's another thing too. Sometimes it'll grab something. All right, Control Z. So I just went back to make it. But see this end one here? Sometimes if I go like this, it'll grab it. So see that now that messed everything up. But if I just go Control Z, bam, it's back to normal. Control Z, you're good. Okay, so that is how you do text. You could also go to Advanced. Advanced, you can do the tracking. That's how much space is in between the letters. And again, you can do a time thing where you bring it from out far and then bring it back in. So you could have it like that, and then you can bring it out to here, where you bring it back to normal. You can keep it just like that. So as it's fading in, it's also moving in, and you're good. And you can just drag this as long as you want to keep that background. And there you go. So a few more quick things before I go. For the volume, you can grab this ticker right here and make it louder or quieter just by dragging it. And if I hit enter to play, I can drag this down. Let's see, it'll mostly go away. Or I could pull it up. You can see underneath here, I can click anywhere here while it's playing. As long as it's this underneath bar or right along here with the numbers. If I click very specifically on this top thing, only in this little thing here, or on this bottom, those are the two spots where you can do it. If you click in the middle here during, it's not going to do anything. But see, so if you let the music play here, you can also adjust the volume here. Right here on the track. You can bring that all the way down. You can bring it back up to 0. Hit enter to stop. So you can adjust your volume there. You can adjust it here. You can pan it either center or to the left or to the right with your pan. And then you have your master volume. Again, the master bus I usually keep the same unless I'm working on something or whatever. But I usually keep that at 0. But you can also do the entire project at once right over here. So that's how you can do your volume. Also, in the same way, if let's go to something here, there's two things that are overlapping each other. One, you can mute this top one. So I muted that so you can't see it. Or if I unmute it, I can also lower the opacity just by this. So if I want to bring it out, I don't even have to mute it. I could just literally bring it down to 0. Or if I only want it halfway, I can bring it there. Or if I want something, Control C to copy, Control V, create a new copy of the source. You always want to do create a new copy of the source media. Because if you do create a reference, anything you do to one, it'll do the same to the other and it'll mess you up. So always the top, create a new copy of the source media. Okay. Now say I want one to fade. I'll put back here. So I want this to fade. I'm going to keep this one full. And I'm going to keep this one at like a 28. So then, see that I'll bring it down. And see it's still there. That's like a good way to make it fade into what you want. You just make a copy and then make the one whichever you want it to end up at. Make the other one what you want it to start at. And then it will do accordingly. Also, if you come up here and you want to preview what you have, you can hit this. This is your video preview button. You click that. There you go. And then you can hit play and you can preview it as a full screen. Now to exit, you have to click it and then hit the escape button and it will bring you back to your main page. Also, if you want to take a screenshot, and I use this to make memes and stuff sometimes because you can use this program to make memes. And again, you can mask things and make memes and stuff. But you could take a screenshot by doing this, the little save file, the old floppy disk. And it'll let you name it. Demo tutorial. And there you have it. You will have that file in your files from now on. It will also pop up in the project media where you can grab it and then use it. Now, for some reason, you can't grab it up here. It won't do nothing. But you want to grab it on the words itself, demo tutorial, pull it here, and now you have a solid version of that image. So now, I want to render it all. First things first, you want to highlight everything you want in your project. It's only going to render exactly what you highlight. I'm going to come here to my file. I'm going to go to render as. You want to go to Sony AVC MVC. You want to click one of these. One of these as 60. It doesn't matter. You're going to follow my template anyway. But just to get you in the ballpark, you want to go to AVC HD 1920 1080 by 60. You're going to click that and you're going to go to Customize Template. Once you have that open, you're going to follow this. You're going to name your template. Just name it something that you know. And then when you're done, you're going to save it. You're going to video format, AVC, high def, 1920 by 1080. Okay, profile high, CABAC. You're going to just copy these. This is the 60. The frame rate has to match what you made in your settings or else it's going to throw stuff off. Okay, that's why usually I make also a 30 frame one and a 25 frame one. The pixel aspect, bit ratio, non-progressive scan, render using CPU only, enable progressive download. Next, you're going to click project, video rendering quality, best. Use project settings, color space default, color range limited default. Audio. So again, so you can pause these and copy all of this if you want for video, audio, system, and project. And then name it, save what you just had, okay, and then that's going to be a template here forever. Now, again, I also made a 30 frames per second one. I also made a 48 frames per second one for my anything I record in OBS, because that is 48 frames per second, just to keep it the same. So you're going to go right now, this is your generic 1080 by 60, whatever you named it. Render, name it whatever you want, and then render away. Usually, I like to click here, open folder when rendering is complete, and then it'll open it wherever you have it ready to save. And again, now, one last thing, while I'm about to render this, you can zoom in and out with the wheel on the mouse, but you can also hold control and roll up and down with the wheels and the mouse. But that's not what I'm going to show you here. I am going to show you that I can make this sped up by clicking the end of the spot that I want to be fast, S to separate. I can pull this back a touch. Then while holding control, you can time stretch it and make it either slower or faster. So I'm going to make it fast. You see the zigzags here. And then drag this back. And then that will give a cool effect as such. Okay, the rendering is done. It should open up if you click that box. And there you go. I hope this was a good tutorial. I tried to go through a little bit of everything. And I know I went through a little quick through everything, but I assume you can stop and pause it as you wish. If you like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.